folks. Welcome to the History Boys podcast. I am your host, Tyler Armentrout, History Boy. I'm here with my sidekicks.
All three of them. You're like Batman, and we're like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Chuckles.
Zach and Chris are the dead Robins, and Jerry's the one that's still alive.
Is there more?
The one that grew up to hate him.
Yeah.
Isn't that his son?
Yeah.
Or is that Dick Grayson?
Probably both. I don't keep up with
There's
that
Tim
shit. What am I, a
Drake.
nerd?
There's Tim Drake. Wait,
There's Tim Drake, Bobby Moynihan, and Dick Grayson.
Billy Boyd, Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
Who played Samwise?
The RZA, the
He's there.
Jizza, Old Dirty Bastard.
Yeah.
Inspector Deck, Raycon the Chef,
And Ghostface Killer.
Ghost-faced killer.
and the Method Man.
Okay, anyway.
And Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're all in the room with us.
they're all here. We told them to shut the fuck up.
Shh, they're being
Elijah
quiet.
Wood
Yeah.
and Method Man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am Christopher Whedon, and I am a history boy, and those people are not actually in the room.
No, but it'd be cool if they were.
Yeah, we wouldn't even know, because this is not video.
Because we would tell them to be quiet.
Yeah, it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind, Fire, back to the Shire. Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
Well, the Riz is a gentleman. He's been sitting here very quietly and
Oh.
patiently. My name is Zach Mack, the sleepiest of history boys.
Old Dirty Bastard's been very quiet over there in the corner.
I mean, he's very dirty right now.
Sleeping.
Let them rest. And I am Jerry Nash, History Boy. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, first thing I do want to say is I'm not here to talk shit about today's subject, but I'm also not here to romanticize his legacy either. I'm just going to try to do my best to tell you the truth.
Oh, we're talking about a man.
Yes, we are. We are talking about His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. He was the last emperor of the Empire of Ethiopia.
Haile Selassie? More like Sassy Lassie.
Yeah.
Good job, Tyler. Thanks for showing up today.
Anytime, folks.
He was a hero to some, a tyrant to others, and a living god to others still.
Cool.
Haile Selassie is a polarizing and divisive figure to this day. In a time when empires were antiquated and feudalism was otherwise extinct, there was Ethiopia with its feudalism, it being an imperial state. The only unconquered, uncolonized country in Africa.
And what time frame is this in?
We're looking, in this episode, we're going to look at the early 1900s, early 20th century. We're going to go up into the 30s in this episode. There's going to at least be two parts of this. Just to give you some sort of context over Ethiopia, its geography, it is a place of extremes. They have these wide open, searing deserts, and these sort of lush forests and mountain ranges. The east is hot and the west is cool, is a good way to sort of think about it.
West Coast is the best coast. Am I right, boys?
Well,
they,
and
they,
it's
they don't have a West Coast.
it's landlocked.
The East
It's
Coast is a
landlocked.
little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
more country. The West Coast is a little bit more rock and roll. Birthplace of the X Games.
It's actually home to the hottest place on Earth. Dalal is what it's called, and it has an average high temperature of 106.1 degrees.
That's
Average?
An average.
That's too hot.
Hottest place.
Pass.
Death Valley has the record for highest day of heat. This place is it's consistently hot. You know what I mean?
Do they have AC there?
No.
Do they live like it's
pretty barren.
Moldman because it's so hot out up in the...
You just get used to it.
If you mean dig into the ground,
Yes.
no.
Oh.
That's too bad. That would have been fun.
Sit around stewing in your own juices.
There's even a place where blue lava flows
Whoa.
in Ethiopia. It's amazing. It's amazing. Go look it up. Go look it up.
Dude.
Ethiopia is home to the most UNESCO World Heritage Sites of any country because it was the place where humanity came from. Mm-hmm. The skeleton, the famous skeleton.
Jack.
Skeleton.
No,
Lucy?
no. Lucy. Yes, Lucy was found in Ethiopia. It is the cradle of humanity.
No shit.
What we're talking
wow.
about, yeah. And also home to a lot of different ethnic groups and nations. But one of the most unique indigenous people on Earth, the Omo people, you may have seen them in like National Geographic or something. They have like the big discs in their lip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, different beauty standards, obviously.
Yeah.
People think that this is where the Ark of the Covenant is.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah, there's a it's either in... It could be in Eritrea, actually. But at this time, we'll kind of get into it. Ethiopia sort of annexed Eritrea, sort of took it over. We'll kind of get there, and I'll explain what happened there.
Well, I mean, it's so hard to find, because even if you get the Staff of Ra, you can't look at it! Don't look at it! Wait, did Harrison Ford just come through here?
Yeah.
Chewie!
Yeah.
You gotta be quiet.
It belongs in a museum.
You see Elijah Wood over there acting up?
He knows how to behave himself.
Yeah.
Pretty much since recorded history began, although it's gone by many different names, most notably Abyssinia. Ethiopia has stood as one of the most powerful and longest-lasting empires in human history. It is claimed that the blood of their kings can be traced back to the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon from the Bible. Yeah, they were the first people outside of the Levant to convert to Christianity. Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity, otherwise known as Coptic Christianity.
Ah.
And King Solomon was the chopping the baby in half guy?
The what?
He loved chopping babies in half.
Yeah, wasn't he like, I'm going to chop this baby in half?
Wasn't that Nebuchadnezzar?
Oh, was it Nebuchadnezzar?
I
What did
think
Solomon
it's
do?
Solomon.
Forget. Was it Solomon?
Yeah,
It
he
could be
Midas touched
Solomon.
things and turned them into gold. Arthur had the sword.
Midas turned things into.
Yeah,
No, that's
Midas,
what
yeah.
I'm saying. Midas turned.
And he chopped
What
up
is
babies.
He's not in the Bible.
No, I know. I'm just going through kings now.
Yeah, neither is King Arthur.
You're gonna name all the kings?
Here's all the kings.
Welcome to the King's Cast, folks.
Yeah, this is Tyler's top 50 kings from mythology and folklore.
And in the number one spot, the King of Queens.
Oh, yeah, Kevin James.
James.
Love him.
Love to hate him.
He's like, I fight with my wife. So what?
Yeah,
I'm a blue collar guy.
Yeah, I work for UPS or something like that.
yeah.
Now, since their rulers claimed descent from the biblical king Solomon, they ruled by divine right in a lot of respects. You know,
Like Donald Trump.
ordained by God in a lot of ways. There was no separation between church and state in Ethiopia. Your king was also your religious head in a lot of ways. I heard two different ways of pronouncing this, and I'm just going to go with one of them. How's that? The G's script.
Jeez.
G-E''E-Z. The G's script is a Semitic language that is sort of all their own. When we talked about how they sort of had to get off of the Egyptian sort of the pictorial sort of language,
Pictographic
to sort of a more written language that was not heathen, I guess, and be more Christian. It was this Coptic G script.
Well, the G script. The G script is so hard to find if you're a guy. I mean, once you find it, you're good. But at first, you gotta have someone to teach you where it is. You know? and it's different on everybody.
And there's several languages that come out of this script. Most notably Amharic for this region, and then there's different ethnicities and whatnot within Ethiopia. There's another one, Oromo, of the Oromo people, which is actually the most populous in Ethiopia, not the Amhara people. Anyway, their language is actually Cushitic, which is completely different.
And
there's
a lot of languages.
Yes. Whole cultures that are all their own, whole languages that are all their own. The Oromo language uses a Latin script, whereas they use, the Semitic script, the G script. It's completely unintelligible to Oromo people. All of these, there's 90 ethnic groups within Ethiopia.
Oh, wow.
Some of them are more remote than others, But like the ruling class, I guess, are Amharas. And the most populous are the Oromo. And this has caused major conflict and strife throughout Ethiopian history. Slavery, most notably, existed in Ethiopia for much longer than it did pretty much anywhere else. And it
When
was.
did they get rid of it?
We're gonna see when they get rid of it.
Oh no!
It's gonna
be like 2012.
No, in a sense, honestly, because conscription and things like that sort of counts as slavery. It was basically the ruling class using other ethnic groups in this way. Is sort of the best way I can put it to you right now. A lot of sources, I'm just going to say this right now, a lot of sources are Amharic-centric, meaning that they tell the Amharic side of the story, right? Because they're written by, at least in English, a lot of them are written by white guys.
I was going to say, because like
naturally.
you said the Amhara are like the kind of the elites in that society.
Yeah.
So they probably would be the people who would interface with colonists
Yes.
most prominently. So,
Colonizers, yeah.
So they're telling their point of view to other people who are very used to that practice.
Right.
And so that's essentially the...
So take what they say with a grain of salt, including me.
Right.
I'm a white guy telling you this story.
I'm gonna trust you.
Take what you shouldn't use us as the end all be all of understanding this part of the world. I definitely encourage you to go out and learn more about this, especially with recent events that have happened in Ethiopia. During the 19th century, there was the scramble for Africa, where the European nations wanted to get a slice of the pie of Africa and colonize, and get rubber and gold and diamonds and whatever they could out of there. Anyone living there, be damned, right? And Italy occupied the area, what is now the country of Eritrea or Eritrea. I've heard it pronounced both ways by credible sources. I think I'm going to call it Eritrea, just because that's what's stuck in my mind.
Eritrea is located where? Up north of Ethiopia?
It's on the west coast of the Red Sea, and it's northeast of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is situated sort of in the middle of the Horn of Africa. To its direct east, sort of on both sides, is Somalia, that sort of takes up the whole horn on both sides there. If you're looking at a map, Sudan is sort of to the northwest. A very important shipping route, especially at this time. You have the Suez Canal there, we'll get a little later, which the British controlled for shipping. Very important area. And the Italians sort of took it off the British, took Eritrea off the British Empire's hands, right? The British weren't getting much out of it, they felt, so they did some wheeling and dealing to kind of cut a long story short, and the Italians moved in. And they caused a bunch of fucking problems when they moved in, but they moved in nonetheless.
They all just wanted gabagool.
They started building naval bases for their shipping routes and things like this.
Military gabagool.
Yeah. It was the whole area, all the way down from the north to the south of the Red Sea, extremely valuable for any of the European powers.
I thought you were going to say extremely Italian.
Well,
they all have thick Jersey accents.
Yeah. Well, the south part of Somalia is Italian Somaliland, right? Is what they called it at the time.
Wine country.
Jesus.
Well, you got all those Somalians and then the Italian influence, and so they're learning about the wine and getting better at...
I get it, like a sommelier.
Oh, wait, okay.
That's making sauce.
I thought we were talking about the wine guys this whole time. We're talking about the African guys. My bad.
Of course, there were border disputes and clashes and skirmishes between Italy and Ethiopia, because Ethiopia really always saw itself as a powerful empire. And they were. Like, far back as the Romans, they were considered one of the biggest powers in the world. They considered them... They're very xenophobic in this era, and they considered themselves pretty much better than anyone else, because they had stood for so long. And you know what I mean? I'm going to get to a quote here in a bit about how an outsider viewed them. and it's gross because it's of the time, but you kind of get a sense for sort of how they viewed themselves at this time. Very proud. But it pushed Italy and Ethiopia to war, basically. There was a British consul of Zanzibar named Gerald Porter, and he said of the peace talks when they were talking, hey guys, don't actually go to war and kill each other. He said, quote, this is kind of a long quote, but quote, "What might have been possible in August or September was impossible in December, when the whole of the immense available forces in the country were already under arms, and that there now remains no hope of satisfactory adjustment of the difficulties between Italy and Abyssinia until the question of the relative supremacy of these two nations has been decided by an appeal to the fortunes of war. No one who has once seen the nature of the gorges, ravines, and mountain passes near the Abyssinian frontier can doubt for a moment that any advance by a civilized army in the face of a hostile Abyssinian hordes would be accomplished at the price of a fearful loss of life on both sides. The Abyssinians are savage and untrustworthy, but they are also redeemed by the possession of an unbounded courage, by a disregard of death, and by a national pride which leads them to look down on every human being who has not had the good fortune to be born an Abyssinian." So that gives you, that really paints a picture, doesn't it?
Untrustworthy, okay, I'll give you that. But savage might be a compliment. Maybe they saw an Abyssinian, squatting 4 plates, on leg day, and they were like, that guy's savage.
No, savage means a different thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't taken down like a double quarter pounder in 2 bites, no. Savage?
Mm-mm.
Though they did do that.
The picture that it paints is that they are fearless in war. You know what I mean? Yeah. When it comes to war shit, they're down in a different way. You know what I mean? People of the world think about war in completely different ways, right? Mm-hmm. No matter mattering where you are, right? The Ethiopians wanted to, they mainly had spears and shields and shit at this time, but they wanted to be up close and personal when you killed somebody. You know what I mean? That's how they thought honorable war should be conducted.
It reminds me a lot of our Boudica episode and Boudica's forces. How they were, the way that you described the Boudica's army to us,
savage and untrustworthy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
that's how the enemies saw them,
right?
Yeah.
The fact that at least in Boudica's army's case, is they were butt-ass naked and just huge and wanted to literally tear people in half with their hands,
Right.
So it's kind of fascinating just hearing these sort of parallels.
The armies of Ethiopia didn't use things like hit and run, guerrilla tactics. That was looked down upon as dishonorable. They wanted to not hide from your enemy. They wanted to get close and see your enemy die. That was a thing that was big with them. And this is not just Ethiopia. This is across Africa and certain areas, that this is how war is conducted.
Right.
And it's mean, and it's fucking gnarly,
Yeah, my understanding was that war for the longest time was kind of like a gentleman's game. There were rules to warfare. And one of the things that they looked down upon was anything that was viewed as cowardly, so snipers, hiding tactics,
hiding behind a rock. They'll say later. I'll say later in the story, probably in the next episode.
I feel like when Chris said hiding behind a rock, he was looking at me.
Where Tyler is.
Yes, he is hiding behind a rock.
When they were teaching them how to fight a modern military, their generals, Rosses, they were like, what kind of warfare is this? Hiding behind rocks. This is a coward's war. You know, like, things like that.
It's like Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
where you're like stealthing, and they're like you're being dishonorable.
Yeah, right.
You know,
exactly.
You look a man in his eyes. You want to see that light leave.
Oh yeah.
So when you watch the light leave their eyes, and you breathe their soul in as they let it exhale out of their mouth, and you gain that strength temporarily until the next time you pass gas, obviously.
Jesus.
But temporarily, you're in a heightened state.
Well, you laugh, but I do know that in the Zulu way of warfare, they would eviscerate the corpses of their dead enemies, because when you're dead, your corpse bloats, and they thought that was the spirit of their dead enemy trying to get out. So you'd cut it open, and you'd stir it all about,
shake it up,
because you didn't want to be haunted by the spirit.
Air it out, air out that curse.
But it it scared the fuck out of the British that were watching it happen. They were like, they're just chopping us apart. We're already dead over there. They're just chopping us up. Already dead. Yeah, and it would keep them awake at night.
Yeah. Don't forget to stir up that corpse's guts. You don't want to get haunted.
Yeah. Let me read just the rest of the quote, because he goes on to say, Gerald Porter again, quote, "It is the old story. Contempt of a gallant enemy because his skin happens to be chocolate or brown or black, and because all his men have not gone through orthodox courses of field firing, battalion drill, and autumn maneuvers." So, they're talking about, we think they're savages because they don't march up and down the square.
What are autumn maneuvers? Is that
autumn maneuvers?
Is that which fork you use when you're eating?
It's like which bayonet you put on before you stab a man in this face.
At certain times of the year, you would have different types of warfare, a strategic warfare, because the terrain would be a little different. So it's sort of this high-minded
you don't want those leaves changing colors fucking with you.
Yeah.
I can't see anything.
Well, it's really
can't concentrate on massacring these indigenous people with all these beautiful colored trees.
It's really confusing because there was a book written about it. It was called The Art of War, but it was written by Emily Post. Come on, I thought that joke was fucking solid.
Who's Emily Post?
She wrote all the fucking manners books, the fucking this is your salad fork, this is time for tea, don't wear the fucking frilly socks on Tuesday.
That is a solid joke. I didn't know who that was.
That is a solid joke. I'm sorry for not laughing.
Well, I didn't know who she was.
Yeah,
and that's the reason why you guys never know which fork's the salad fork.
That's why I'm such a peasant.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of animals.
You are.
We go to a fancy restaurant and they immediately kick us out because we're way too drunk.
You're like, I'll do dishes, and they're like, that's not a thing in real life.
You can't just do that. It's I thought that was a get out of jail free card.
Yeah. Come on, let me do some dishes.
And not pay for my meal. Yeah.
It's you didn't even order anything. You just came in demanding to do dishes.
You let me just do the dishes first. We'll figure out what I eat later.
Figure out how much I accrued. So after there were increasing hostilities on both sides, the Abyssinian and the Italian, they did come up with a treaty, but there was that old problem of colonizer versus indigenous treaty. Mm-hmm. Any guesses as to what that is?
I'm gonna guess it favors the colonizer.
Yeah.
No?
And maybe only one group of the indigenous people actually went into the treaty, and there was other indigenous groups that didn't sign it.
Well, yes, there was this, but keep in mind that these other indigenous groups are ignored by the Empire of Ethiopia. So, yeah, it was only the Empire signing it, but at the same time, they didn't know. They had two different versions. The Italian version, which said all this stuff, basically made Ethiopia a protectorate. And then there was what they gave the Ethiopians, which is a watered-down version, much more vague, so they didn't know what they were signing. Being a protectorate means, you have to put all foreign diplomacy through who's protecting you. So you can't, make your case to the French or the British or anyone else. You gotta go through Italy, and they can be like, shut up. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
this was not going to fly, basically. The emperor at the time, Menelik II, he was wise to it, and he was pissed off about it. But the Italians still got the rest of Europe to recognize Ethiopia as a protectorate, except for the Ottomans, who still had a claim on Eritrea, so they were pissed off about that. And actually Russians, the Russians at the time, didn't like this either because they didn't like the idea of Roman Catholics ruling over Orthodox Christians. Mm-hmm. A lot of that just, it makes a big deal, especially in this sort of time, late 1800s, what we're talking here.
This just reminds me of a bad game of Risk right now.
Yeah. Honestly, like the Roman Catholic Orthodox, I'm sure it's a big deal to them, but to me it's like we got Coke Zero and Diet Coke. I'm like, they're practically the same thing. What's the fucking difference? Oh, I'm gonna get a letter bomb now.
No, yeah, big time.
Ethiopia's prime minister, because they still had a king at this time, his name was Francesco Crispi.
Ooh.
Francesco Crispi sounds delicious.
Yeah, founder of Crispy Rice. Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
It's like that sushi place.
Yeah.
It delivers. It's good.
Well, Francesco Crispi was like a proto-Mussolini. He was hyper-nationalistic and imperialistic and a bigot. A total bigot.
Unlike Mussolini.
Was he obsessed with making the trains run on time?
That's funny because that's something that people bring up. Well, at least the trains ran on time. It's not true. It's not actually true.
They were late all the time.
It just they didn't really run better under fascist rule.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they just didn't run. Full stop.
All the conductors were hung for various reasons.
But he also wanted to build a new Roman Empire on the Horn of Africa. Mm-hmm. Now, Emperor Menelik II, he rallied his people in defiance of this sham treaty, and he gathered nearly 200,000 men, conscripted them, but 200,000, mostly armed with shields and spears, a few with antique rifles, and some French artillery from way back in the day. Mm-hmm. They were going to go and fight the Italians.
Do they have, like, arquebuses?
Not that old, but they're black powder, like they're old, yeah. You know what I mean? So this outnumbered the ill-equipped, untrained, and untested Italian and Ascari forces, because the Italians, of course, would take the Eritreans around them and be like, all right, now you get in the front. Mm-hmm. Like, they straight up did that. They would do that again and again and again. They would
Operation Shield.
Yeah, they would take Ascaris and Somalis and just put them in the front and use them as cannon.
Is that that thing from the South Park movie? Yeah. Is that what that's called? Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
The Ethiopians just outnumbered them. And at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, they beat the Italians. And it was the first time an African nation had beaten a European nation.
Yeah.
And it embarrassed the fuck out of the Italians. Like, over in Europe, their prestige just plummeted.
Yeah, it was humiliating.
No matter who won, hooligans would storm the playing field, and rioting would occur.
And it also solidified Ethiopian hegemony. You know, it made them, like, prouder, and it, like, brought them together.
I would imagine they were pretty stoked about that.
Yeah. But yeah, crushing defeat for the Italians, and they would not forget this, you know what I mean? It would always be something, like, something of a sore spot for them.
Right.
The captured Ascaris, like, the Italians would shoot you if you were a traitor. They'd just kill you. But the Ethiopians saw the Ascaris as traitors. And what they did with traitors was they would cut off your foot and your hand.
Can't lose your foot to diabetes if your foot's already gone.
Jesus.
And it means you're gonna steal all you want because they already took your hand. What are they gonna do? Take your other hand?
Well, there was also another practice of castration. Menelik said that he told them not to do that, but it happened anyway. It was way like a no, don't do that. You know,
are they taking just the balls, or are they taking the whole thing?
I think they're taking just the balls. They're chopping the balls off.
I feel like,
but it's not nice. Like they're putting your balls on a block, and then with the knife,
Yeah. He kept being like, don't castrate them, but he kept winking.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
about you guys. I'm slightly disappointed that they didn't have like a ball guillotine and just like made a big spectacle of it.
Oh my god, that's adorable.
It's like
a teeny one.
It looks like a guillotine, but it's little.
The trick is to not have the room be too cold. You gotta keep that scrotum pliable for when the guillotine comes to.
It's like one of those fancy bidets. It's warming. Warms up your balls. It's very comfortable until
Until the blade comes down.
This feels great on my balls. What does it do?
It chops them right off.
There's a little wicker basket.
Your balls are still alive when they hit the basket.
A lot of confused sperm.
Yeah.
So Tafari Makonnen
O'Brien
was born on July 23rd, 1892, outside of the city of Harar. Tafari means one who is respected and feared.
I mean, you don't know that's going to happen. That's just hoping.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
Now, his father, Ras Makonnen, was a war hero and general during the Italian invasion, and very trusted by Emperor Menelik. Ras Makonnen was actually at the Battle of Adwa. Very well respected.
Is that what made him a hero?
Sort of, yeah.
One of
Makonnen?
the things.
Makonnen.
By the end of this, he'll be McGowan.
Nice.
Jesus. Now, Ross pretty much equates to Duke. Pretty much. So sort of think of the Rosses as Dukes.
So David
Wait,
Schwimmer.
is Ross the title?
R-A-S.
Oh, not like
Ross.
Friends.
No, not...
Remember that? That's funny.
He's a weird guy. Anyway. Isn't he the friend?
He's on the show. I don't fucking
He's
know.
one of the... He's a friend.
He's a friend.
Didn't he own the monkey?
Yeah, he has a monkey. Because weird people own monkeys.
I thought Ross was the monkey. Which one's Ross?
I don't know. He's the one that is the dude. I don't fucking...
He's the white guy.
Yeah, the white guy.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
So they're all Ross.
Yeah,
They're all
everyone's
Ross.
Ross. When I look around this room, all I see is...
Ross. Yeah. Like Suicide Squad, except Ross.
Yeah.
We'd all be Ross. Anyway, he was... Tafari Makonnen was educated by French Catholic monks, so he was fluent in French. Very fluent in French. And actually, it garnered a lot of distrust because they were like, oh, raised Catholic, eh? Even though he was Coptic, Ethiopian Orthodox.
Right.
And very devout that way. Still raised by Catholics, it garnered some mistrust.
Well, they should have been like, oh, he's so Coptic that he even experienced the other thing and decided we're better.
Yeah, right.
I feel like you could go either way.
You could go either way.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought you were not saying they didn't trust him because he was French or because he spoke French.
He said Zuta lore before every sentence.
Yeah, Marquis de Lafayette spoke French, and I'm not going to sit idly by while you say a bad word about him.
I didn't even mention. Oh, by the way, Mike Duncan's book just came out. Hero of Two Worlds. Can't wait to read it.
Is it going to be an audiobook?
Oh, yeah, he reads it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so. Since,
It's going to be a slam dunkin'.
Nice.
Nice. He was also influenced by Niccolo Machiavelli's book,
The Prince.
The Prince. Yeah. And you'll really see that when
the sequel wasn't as good, though.
But it had Purple Rain on it.
Now, Tafari, he had a claim to the Solomonic dynasty on his mother's side, so he had, like, the Solomonic blood, you know what I mean, that legitimized him. Now, when Tafari was just 14, his father died, which made him...
Pilot Neva.
It made him Ras Tafari Makonnen.
So he's not a Rastafarian, but he's Rastafari?
Well, that's where the Rastafarians come from.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence, no.
Are we doing the origin story of weed?
Not of weed, but of the Rastafarians, yes. Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah, that's tertiary to this story.
Okay.
He also married a woman named Menon Asfaw, She was the niece to the heir of the throne, Menelik's grandson, his niece. She had actually been married thrice before, 2 resulting in divorce and 1 in death. All of her marriages had been arranged, but if you look at their whole life together, it is clear that Ras Tafari Makonnen truly loved her quite a bit, and he was very devout. So is she.
Sounds like all of her previous marriages were arranged, but all of her divorces were also arranged by her.
Yeah.
So that's convenient.
That's not even a joke. That's true. Now, Ras Tafari Makonnen was turning out to be a smooth political operator. He would play political rivals against each other while remaining in the background, right? And then just sort of coming out on top, right? And that's very Machiavellian. Machiavellianism is sort of like politics are amoral, right? So to get power, you should get power by any means necessary. That's Machiavellianism. If you think you're right, then you need to, do whatever you need to get to the top, basically.
Yeah. Right.
It's problematic, but
yeah, it's like one of those things. Like a lot of like douchebags will quote Machiavelli when they never read the book. They just think that it gives them carte blanche to be kind of an asshole to everybody because they're like, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Right? Yeah, that's how idiots boil down Machiavellianism. Is like, gotta do what you gotta do, and it's like, well, no,
So like my favorite books are The Prince, Art of War, and Art of the Deal. I haven't read any of them. I heard they're great. They all got 5 stars on Amazon. Yeah. So
Art of War is super short too. It takes you 2 seconds to read. Anyway,
more like Fart of War. Take that, Sun Tzu, you piece of shit.
I'm not talking shit about Sun Tzu.
Neither am I.
I do like that book, but I'm just not leading armies. I'm not a general.
Not yet.
When Menelik II died of complications, what many think complications from syphilis, his grandson took the throne.
My first order of business is fire all the concubines. Get new concubines.
I don't want to catch a case of hot dick.
Yeah.
Talk about the blue lava. Got some white lava coming out.
His grandson was Liege, I believe, Ieyasu. He was going to be the next emperor. He was extremely unpopular, though, especially among the ruling nobility. He was sort of a party guy.
Nice.
I like him already.
He was courting the Muslims, and he was converting to Islam. And all of the nobility are all Coptic Christians, so they didn't like that one bit. He also sided with the Axis powers in the First World War, and when that didn't go so well, they're like, you gotta go, dude.
Okay, you say you're a party guy, but you don't drink, and you don't eat pork. Those are my 2 favorite things to do at parties. And then you sided with the bad guys in World War II.
World War I.
Oh,
the Great War.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, jumped ahead about 40 years. 37 years.
No, we're still getting there.
Okay.
We're still getting there. He was ousted, and he went into hiding. He kind of has his own story after that. Menelik's daughter, Zuditu, became the first empress of Ethiopia, and the Ethiopians couldn't bear the thought of having a woman in charge. So they gave Zuditu's cousin, Ras Tafari Makonnen, the regency. So he was regent over Ethiopia.
Couldn't they just watch like any Disney movie that's come out in the last 20 years and been like, oh, the princess can run the kingdom? Like, she's capable.
They would have, but they don't have a time machine.
Yeah, well,
that's on them.
Now,
Zuditu was a remarkable woman in her own right. She was actually hyper-conservative and extremely religious. She built a lot of churches in her time.
With their bare hands?
No, she commanded other people to build churches.
Fair enough.
Ras Tafari was incredibly astute when it came to navigating the complex politics of the royal palace. It's very Games of Thronesy during this time. A lot of court intrigue and stuff, and he navigated it really well. And he was sort of seen as a progressive in this early Regency day. And so he kind of boxed out the conservative elements, and it kind of pissed off Zuditu quite a bit, and her husband quite a bit, but there was nothing she could do about it, because he was so popular.
Just imagine him leaning on a locker at school.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like trying to talk to him, because he's so popular.
Yeah,
He's got a Letterman jacket.
Yeah.
Toothpick or something. And
He's played by Chris Evans.
yeah.
You think he's got a switchblade, but it's just a comb.
It's a comb. Yeah. It's a nice guy. So he started to travel around to other countries because he felt something that him and Zuditu disagreed on is that he felt that in order to be a flourishing empire, they needed to open themselves up to the world. And so they didn't like outside influence because they had seen what happened to the rest of Africa. And so they didn't like that. And they didn't like any corrupting influences from the outside, including like people being educated from the outside and then coming back. They didn't really like that. But he would go and he visited all these places. He visited France, Great Britain, where the king was incredibly racist to him. He was horrible. He was a straight up unapologetic racist. He was a piece of shit. But he also went to Italy, and actually he met with Mussolini once. And
It's like Forrest Gump.
yeah. Jesus. Which is super crazy. It would be the only time they ever actually met one-on-one in person. And he pushed his country to join the new League of Nations. There was, the British didn't want Ethiopia to join. The Italians supported it on the surface, but secretly didn't want them to join. But they were going to let Britain and France argue about it and sort of turn them against each other.
It's a solid move.
Yeah, to do that, because Mussolini, as we'll see later, has plans of his own.
What could those be?
So he was like, I'm not gonna let I'm gonna let these people make my arguments for me.
He's like, I'm over here
just
working
stay.
on the trains, so...
Well, who's even going to let Italy join the League of Nations anyway? They don't even have any superheroes.
Yeah.
Italian Spider-Man.
Italian Spider-Man.
Fair enough.
Hey, I'm Spider-Man.
Oh no, dude! If you have
Shut
not
your mouth,
seen
pussycat.
if you have not seen it, you
It's
need to
so
see
funny.
Italian Spider-Man.
And that
It's
goes for you
fantastic.
folks at home, too. Google Italian Spider-Man after this episode, and you're in for a treat.
Oh god, it's hilarious.
It is not a sex thing.
No.
Just so you know. This isn't a bait and switch.
Yeah,
It's really a
we're
funny
not sending
thing.
you to Rotten.com or anything like that.
So,
Give him the old Italian Spider-Man.
So is Italian Spider-Man on par with Turkish Star Wars?
Turkish Star Wars paved the way for Italian Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's very much in the vein of the foreign knockoff, but it is a parody.
It's a parody
it's
of
very
yeah.
well made.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. I'm sold.
It's a really well-made parody of a foreign knockoff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
think
really
Black
good.
Dynamite and Turkish Star Wars had a baby.
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
so there. I'm
Yeah,
so
it's
sold.
good. Yeah,
And it's
you'll
Spider-Man.
like
now.
it.
Yeah, it's really funny. And actually, Ras Tafari contracted the 1918 Spanish flu
Oh no!
and survived.
Oh.
Yeah,
He should get vaccinated.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone do get vaccinated.
It's FDA approved.
Yeah.
You have no excuse.
Yeah. Now, in 1928, after some political infighting over the age-old issue of conservatism versus progressivism, Zuditu was forced to transfer much of her power to Ras Tafari Makonnen, making him Negus, which is king. And this is sort of an unprecedented turn because there had never been sort of two monarchical figures ruling at the same time in Ethiopia until now.
Now I'm
Right.
seeing double.
Zutitu's husband, Ras Guksawele, was not too happy with Ras Tafari Makonnen at all. He was pissed off over Iyasu. He was pissed off over the power grab and whatnot, so he went into revolt against Ras Tafari Makonnen. Very decisively, he put this rebellion down. And they actually used a French biplane to bomb the rebel fighters, and that was kind of the end of that.
You're like,
you
well,
know what I mean?
Did the bombs have like the fuse coming out, or did the round old timey
what cartoon is this?
It's 19...
French biplane?
It's
What kind of cartoon, indeed?
late 1920s.
They drop baguettes on him, huh? Right?
It was a couple of days after, Ras Tafari was killed that Zuditu died. She actually didn't know the outcome of the rebellion because information moved incredibly slow in Ethiopia. They didn't have infrastructure at all to speak of.
This is before MSN Messenger.
Not a lot of roads. They had a train line that went from Djibouti to Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia.
Sorry, man. I'm trying to go through. There's a lot of names that I'm unfamiliar with, and I just keep on telling myself, you like Star Wars. She's not only like their Zuditu, she's our Zuditu. So, like...
God damn it.
Jesus Christ.
God! That was great.
But yeah, that last one was just a little bit too much.
I'm like trying to not laugh
Tashi
at
Station.
Djibouti.
The
and
small country of Djibouti.
And then
you know about it?
and then you... What was the name? The train went from Djibouti to what?
Addis Ababa? You guys. There was...
This is really insensitive.
Dude, it is. And
I'm
there's
being
precedents
so
of
rude.
it. There was one diplomat that had never heard the capital of Ethiopia ever said. And when they came back and they were like, yeah, we got to go to Addis Ababa, he was like, what? Say that again? Addis Ababa. And he kept going like, Addis Ababa. And he kept saying, Addis Ababa.
You know when somebody asks George Costanza something, but he doesn't have a real answer and he mumbles some gibberish?
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, people of Ethiopia.
I'm just thinking about like all the times I'd make fun of like my wife for like liking the Hungry Games or whatever.
The Hungry Games.
And I'm like, is she gonna go with like Gail or Peter or whatever? And
Making fun of the name Peter.
It's actually Gail and PETA, I think, but I call them Dale and Peter. She's really mad at me. But then she's like, you know what, motherfucker? I had to sit through like 3 movies of fucking Han Solo and Jabba the Hutt. This is fine. This is totally fine. And I'm like, you're right. I'm being a big bully, and I'm making fun of you for what you like, and it's as dumb as what I like. So here we are. Anyway, Addis Ababa?
Addis Ababa.
Addis Ababa.
Addis Ababa.
In Djibouti. Come on, it's hard, man.
I fucking hate you guys. Anyway, there was a train that went from Djibouti to Addis Ababa, and that is sort of how they connected themselves to the coastline, because they were landlocked, right?
So monorail.
That's how they do that. Yeah, monorail. Now, Zuditu, she died either because of a struggle with diabetes or typhoid. It could also be. But the accepted story is that she had a very high fever and sort of a Hail Mary pass. They dunked her in freezing cold holy water, and she went into a coma and died.
Probably wasn't holy enough.
As a result, yeah.
Like, they half-assed the holy I don't know whatever the fuck they do.
Yeah.
Move their fingers over it or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know how you make holy water. So on April 2nd, 1930, Ras Tafari was crowned Emperor of Ethiopia in Addis Ababa. Upon his ascension, he took his regnal name, Haile Selassie I. This name means the power of the Trinity. Right? And he was actually given this at birth. You're allowed to choose your regnal name, but he uses this. So, yeah, power of the Trinity.
I like that Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it means, but...
sounds spooky.
But
I picture like a Ringu-style ghost.
Yeah. Haile Selassie's full title in office was by the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, elect of God.
Fuck yeah.
Breaker of chains, mother of dragons.
He won the election by 3 votes. The Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
The 3 men that I admire most.
Nice.
Aren't they all the same guy?
I don't fucking know. I'm not religious.
I don't know. I've never been totally clear on what the differences are of those things, but I don't care. Haile Selassie, he was like everything that Ethiopian nobility was supposed to be. Yeah. He was dignified. He was, he was kind of quiet unless he had something to say, and when he had something to say, it was definitive. Extremely dignified. He was respect. He embodied the word respect. You know what I mean?
It's like Obama.
He dressed very nice. Yeah, well, he was more serious.
He was born in Kenya, too. Not even born in Ethiopia.
He was more serious than Obama. Obama liked to joke around.
Obama's hilarious.
Not Haile Selassie. He was much more head of state. Emperor.
Obama liked to joke around. I think it sounds like he's like doing the State of the Union. He's like, McDonald's breakfast.
Now, royal families from around the world attended this lavish coronation affair, including the King of Italy, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. The crown that they wear, the imperial crown, is this insane, like 3-tier gold crown.
Cool.
And when you see pictures of anyone wearing it, you can tell that they're like absolutely aware that they are wearing this giant crown, and they're trying not to knock it over or something. Try not to laugh. No.
It's made of like barbed wire and old Rockstar cans.
We're not talking about your crown.
I used to want to make a dream catcher made of barbed wire and old Rockstar cans.
Jesus Christ.
I still want to do that.
Like chimes in the wind. Clank, clank,
Why
clank,
do I
clank.
still have so many nightmares? But I set up my dream catcher.
It looks like a fucking nightmare. Now, including this colonel of the Ethiopian Air Force. And the Ethiopian Air Force was extremely small, and most of their Air Force didn't have guns on them or anything like that.
So they had an airline.
There were transport planes. No, they didn't have an airline.
But I mean, if you have an Air Force that doesn't have any guns, it's an airline.
There were transport planes, but they're smaller planes. Anyway, there was a colonel. He was born in Trinidad, and he came over to Ethiopia. He was a black pilot. His name was Hubert Julian.
Solid name.
He named himself the Black Eagle.
Badass.
And
wait, Hibbert Julian?
Hubert.
Oh, I was about to be like Simpsons reference.
No,
because Julian Hibbert.
Yeah.
Is his first name Julian?
Yeah, I thought it was.
I think you might be right.
That might be a play. But he would walk around in military dress, like he spent a lot of time in Harlem. Like military dress. He walked around with a riding crop too, and he'd be like, "Yeah, over in Canada, I was like a really good pilot over there in their Air Force, but there's like no record of him ever serving." He was kind of a huckster. He was like an arms dealer later in life, but he sort of garnered fame from doing like these, death-defying barnstorming plane stunts and like parachuting and like doing parachute stunts and stuff like that.
So I mean, he knows his shit somehow.
A little bit. He tried to beat Charles Lindbergh to the punch, and fly across the Atlantic and whatnot.
We don't know what happened to his baby either.
I think we do now.
But he had some trouble paying for his plane, and when he did take off, it crashed.
It's like Launchpad McQuack.
Yeah, he did a few.
Did I get that right?
I think so.
He did a few things that really pissed off, especially the black community in America.
Just like Launchpad McQuack.
God.
Just had a lot of outrageous views.
They didn't really like him in America.
Got canceled in like 1995.
He and when he learned of sort of Haile Selassie and whatnot, Haile Selassie was a big figure for African Americans as this black emperor. You know what I mean? Big. What the fuck are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. I just couldn't stop thinking. I couldn't stop imagining people being like, "Stop animating him. You're animating him too racist."
Launchpad McQuack.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
You can cut that.
I don't know if we can.
It's like,
Racist, right?
you can't make a cartoon
He's
character.
crying.
You have to make him racist on purpose. You can't accidentally make him racist.
Holy shit.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
God.
Okay.
Tyler.
You let it build up too long.
Oh my God.
I mean, what I said was funny. Remember that?
Yeah. So Hubert Julian, the Black Eagle, he was at the coronation, and he had this whole stunt, plane thing planned, using Haile Selassie's personal plane. And he was sort of told, like, the day before, like, hey, we're not doing that.
Hey, don't fuck that plane up.
We're not doing that. And it was like dress rehearsal. It was like the day before.
He's like Super Dave Osborne.
Yeah. And he was like, they're kind of doing their thing, and he's like, I'm just gonna do it. So he ran onto the onto the airfield, jumped into Haile Selassie's personal plane, and started flying it, and lost control and crashed it and
Did he
destroyed
die?
it. No, he was alive.
Launchpad McQuack.
And everybody was super pissed. They were super pissed.
This is exactly what we said would happen.
You can fly any plane here, except for that one. That's the Emperor's plane.
Guys, check this out. I'm gonna go crash the Emperor's plane.
Yeah.
I like this guy.
They deported him. They deported him because they
you're
were so
done.
pissed.
Is that the end
You're
of
done,
the story?
No.
We're just doing a story on S guy.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm
We're not
surprised they
done
didn't
with
bring
Hubert
out the ball
Julian.
guillotine for him.
Oh, yeah.
No, we're not done with Hubert Julian. He would even make his way back to Ethiopia as well. Even
like,
after
"God
he was
damn it."
told to go home.
We said you gotta get.
And pretty much everywhere he was chased away from.
Oh, man.
They got tired of him.
I'm looking at pictures. This guy's suave.
I want
Dude,
to.
he is.
Look, check this out.
Dude, look at his uniform, his riding crop.
This is
yeah,
what I was
dude.
looking at here, but yeah.
Yeah, he has.
Oh my, that is a handsome.
He is
guy.
I would not
handsome
leave
man.
my wife alone with that
Jack
man.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he
That's
calls
some
himself.
drip.
And he calls himself the Black Eagle. I
That
mean,
guy, and then keeps crashing planes like
Yeah.
Launchpad McQuack.
and he's kind of like a. He's a likable huckster, but a huckster nonetheless.
I like him.
Yeah.
Crashing planes and crushing pussy.
All pretty much all the way through his reign, Haile Selassie was sort of viewed by some people as they sort of distrusted him. You know what I mean? For a lot of different reasons. Marcus Garvey. Do you all know who Marcus Garvey is, or was?
I mean, I do, but tell Tyler.
Yeah, tell me, because Chris doesn't know, and he's using me as.
Yeah, that is-
Do you know
it
Zach?
sounds super familiar.
Marcus Garvey was a activist, civil rights activist, pretty much before anyone else, almost. He was actually championing the Back to Africa movement.
Oh.
Taking people back to Africa.
Marcus, was it? Wait. No, this was way after Monrovia was founded, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because that was a different Back
still
to
in the-
Africa.
You're thinking
movement.
of Liberia.
Yeah, I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Liberia and James Monroe.
yeah.
That's way before
Okay.
this. No, Marcus Garvey, he was like, you know what? They treat us like shit here. Let's go back to Africa, where we're from, and rule ourselves, kind of a deal. He was a big voice for African Americans back in the day, and he had this prophecy that there would be a black king that would come to rule over a black empire. And something about the rain and when the rain would start, and it started raining when Haile Selassie was crowned. So people started looking at this tenuous prophecy as Haile Selassie becoming the sort of Christian king,
He's gonna bring balance to the force.
of the world.
Is that what Toto was singing about?
He blesses the rain back down
The
in
rain's
Africa.
back, and I don't know what that song's about. This is the beginning of the Ras Tafari movement, because they viewed him as they straight up viewed him as the second coming of Jesus Christ.
They're so
as a
far from
Messiah.
Jamaica.
This Harvey
yes.
Garvey or whatever his name is?
Marcus Garvey. But Marcus Garvey, it's sort of a misunderstanding. Nothing
He's like,
against...
I'm not God. It's
Well,
like
yeah.
Life of Brian.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Haile Selassie is very devout. So he's like, I'm not a god. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not the Messiah. I'm just a man, you
It's
know?
like, I will straight up go to hell if I say that.
Yeah.
Right.
And people around him were like, you don't believe that.
Oh,
do you?"
you're God.
Yeah, but no...
So something the Messiah would say.
But in Jamaica, you know, people is all over the Caribbean. These are colonized people that were brought over there, forcefully kidnapped and brought over. They were looking to decolonize themselves, right? Especially Jamaica, and they saw Haile Selassie as the symbol, you know, what their nation could be, what they could live under. They became Ras Tafarians because of this. The unfortunate thing about it is, and you know, nothing against Ras Tafarians, but Marcus Garvey, if you actually read a lot of his writings, he wrote a lot of articles that were hypercritical of Haile Selassie. Hypercritical. He goes so far as to... He says a lot of scathing things about Haile Selassie, that he's not enlightened, that he doesn't view himself as black. He views himself as something else. Not white, but not black. Sort of this ruling class, right? And there is precedence for this.
It sounds like a lot of really, really bad, mean-spirited observational humor.
What Marcus Garvey said is not unfounded. I will say that.
So
It's
he's
very
speaking truth
scathing.
to power.
Yeah. Go read. Like, there's one article, I think it was published... Oh, I can look it up. But it was published in the 30s, and it's straight up called, like, Haile Selassie is a bad historian and a bad, even worse, psychologist. And he, like, point by point is like, fuck this guy, fuck this guy, fuck this guy, fuck this guy. He's like, slavery still exists in his country, dude. Never forget that. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
It is. Again, nothing against Rastafarians, but that is misunderstood. Marcus Garvey was not talking about Haile Selassie. You know what I mean? He did not like that guy at all. Haile Selassie, when he traveled the world, he saw the development, he saw the infrastructure, he saw all of these things, and he wanted to modernize Ethiopia.
It's like, we gotta get some of them roads.
Yeah, he built roads. He built the first university called Haile Selassie University. It was later renamed Addis Ababa University. He was on the cover of Time in November of 1930. People knew him in his day. You know what I mean? He built a new palace that was in the model of like an English country home, and he kept lions inside, like these tame, quote unquote, tame lions inside.
I thought you were gonna say he kept lying.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a politician, so lions are cool.
You buried the lead on that one. He's a politician. That was the bit.
Yeah. And there's stories of like foreign diplomats coming into the palace and seeing the lions and being like horrified.
Lions are cool.
Yeah. There's a apocryphal story of a British diplomat just pulling out his pistol and shooting one.
Oh
shit.
You don't deserve that.
Probably apocryphal. But Haile Selassie did start keeping like the big guys sort of away from everyone else.
The big lions?
And, yeah. And just having cubs around, around people. Just to kind of, not too dangerous. But...
I still bet a lion cub could fuck you up.
Oh, yeah. My kitty cat could.
Yeah.
She has knives in her hands.
Oh, yeah.
Sharp ones.
Oh, I know.
She will not let me cut them.
She ripped me apart when I was there.
Yeah. He would also, send promising students off to, the United States, Great Britain, France, to be educated and come back, because he was basically building a generation of people that would come and keep building Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. He wanted to catch up. He wanted to be like those powers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because he thought of himself, of his own empire, of the same league. And, I mean, he was in the League of Nations, so he was. You know?
Right.
And by the way, they didn't want to let him into the League of Nations ostensibly because he still had slavery and he had to promise to get rid of it. And they said, hey, stop doing that, but shit ain't gonna happen overnight. And especially in these remote areas, they're just gonna keep doing what they know. And that's how that fucking went down for a long time.
Right. I thought it was just going to be racism. That's why they didn't want him in.
Also that, but ostensibly they said it's because you have slavery.
I don't really blame them for that.
Yeah. In 1931, he became the first monarch to give his own power away, so they say, by making a constitution. And by making himself, part of a constitutional monarchy. But, of course, everything defaulted to him at the end of the day. So it had the veneer of a constitutional monarchy, but not the actual practice of a constitutional monarchy.
You write the Constitution, you get some people to do your job for you, delegate, and then you put your feet up and you come out at parades and you do the funny wave. That's how you do the monarch thing in the 20th century and beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in England pays for the royal family to stay royal. They don't do anything but occupy space, like, in tabloids.
I don't know why they feel the need, but I'm not English. I am English. Descended from English people, but I don't get it. I'm an American. I don't understand.
I think Elizabeth's gonna die someday.
No.
I know. Blasphemy.
You don't think soon?
And then I think that they're just gonna be like, all right, you guys had a good run. It's over.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, come on. What are we giving on this? What did you see? Did you fucking, I don't know, be equestrians or whatever? Come on. Go fuck yourself.
If enough
Get
people...
a fucking job,
Yeah.
Welfare queen.
Right.
If enough people died... Zach, do you know of... the punk rock... His last name is Tudor. If enough people die, he becomes king of England, which is insane.
Oh, that's
What?
awesome.
Yeah.
Is that the dude from the Attics?
Something Tudor. Temple. Yeah, Temple Tudor.
Temple Tudor?
Yeah. Temple Tudor. Because he's a Tudor.
Yeah,
I
got that.
So am I from time to time.
Temple Tudor are an English punk band fronted by Edward Tudor Pole.
Yeah.
Interesting. No, I'm not familiar.
If enough people die, there has to be a lot of people to die before he becomes... He won't, but I think it's interesting.
It'd be funny if he did.
But what this did do, this constitution, it introduced modern legislation. Like there was a legislative branch and a judiciary branches to the government. They were more modern, more succinct with the world, and he was starting to work on a modernized army as well. In this regard, people think of him as Menelik II's successor. Yeah, he had these progressive views towards building Ethiopia and its people in some regards. There were vibrant Armenian, of course Italian, Arab, Greek, and I think some Indian communities within Ethiopia. They actually took in Armenian refugees from the genocide. And this pissed off the Ottomans because you don't talk about the Armenian genocide because it never happened.
Why'd you talk about something that never happened?
Yeah. And so, anyway...
Well, outside of that, I was going to say, that's one food court I wouldn't mind being in.
Yeah, right? All those...
A lot of global flavors in there that I could really get behind.
Those are like all my favorite foods right there.
Yeah.
And Ethiopian food, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, Il Duce Benito Mussolini and the rising Italian fascist state that wanted to make Italy great again
Oh, yeah.
and form a new Roman Empire was gaining steam and taking hold in Italy. There was also, the quote-unquote pacification of Libya, the northern African country of Libya. But they had never forgotten about Adwa. And it was something that they really wanted revenge for, or at least the fascist element in the country really wanted revenge for.
They'll get him.
Yeah. Well, Italy controlled Eritrea, as I said, in the north, and they straight up just started mobilizing. And, like, Mussolini was like, you know, we will exact our revenge for the Adwa embarrassment, and we will take Ethiopia as another piece of the Roman Empire, and rule as like, he's straight up saying, like, we will rule as conquerors and whatnot. Like, he sees himself as a Caesar.
Everyone knows how fierce and renowned the Italian army is. All their victories, all the feathers, and
between the Roman Empire and now. Yeah. And there's, like, the Italian black shirts. And what's great is the Italian black shirts were great street thugs that could, like, force people to do certain things in Italy. But you take them out on the battlefield, and they get fucking blown away because they're not soldiers. Yeah. But they're an ideologue of a group. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I just like how much Ethiopia beat them one time, and they're just living rent-free in their minds now.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, in Ethiopia, too, like, if you would have asked them during this time, like, people, you know, going to military school or whatever, like, you know, are you afraid of any other country invading? They would have been like, no. We've beat the Italians before, we can beat them again. And they're like, well, what about their, like, superior air force? Like, they have, like, a lot of planes and shit that we don't have. It's like, it's okay. We have shamans here that have a few words to say, and they'll just knock them out of the sky.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, their pilots are incompetent, all their instruments are covered with marinara sauce, they can't fly for shit.
Jesus Christ. Jesus
It's hard to fly a plane when your mouth is stuffed with spaghetti.
It's even harder to fly a plane when your mom's right behind your head, just talking about what a good boy you are, and how you wouldn't get in any trouble. It's like, Mom trying to fly this plane!
She's like, eat more spaghetti, your skin and bones.
That marinara's expired!
It's 300 pounds, Mom, come on!
I can barely fit in this tiny plane.
Can barely catch air. It's just literally hovering.
Oh my god. The League of Nations was set up to stop World War I from happening again. That was the whole point. You're going to get all these nations together, and you have something called collective security.
Sounds like they did a good job at that.
Yeah. And what collective security means is if one nation insists on attacking another nation, especially within the group, all the other nations have to get together and they have to defend that nation. Right? That's collective security. Otherwise, you're supposed to take every means possible to make sure that doesn't happen. Right?
It's like the proto version of mutually assured destruction.
Yes, only the peaceful version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even people back then were like, it's a joke, especially in America.
Well, it didn't work.
It didn't work.
They were like, let's have an even bigger world war.
Yeah.
Some of these other countries that didn't get to be in the last one.
Yeah.
And they feel left out, so we got to put them in the new war.
Yeah, Japan's just really stoked to be part
chomping
of it.
at the bit. But it would have worked if they would have taken it seriously. But they didn't take it seriously. None of the countries did, because the way the League of Nations sort of saw themselves is another war in Europe.
Oh, okay, so they're being way too specific.
But
But, well, in their minds.
were they still like, fuck Poland?
When you said that they weren't taking it seriously, I thought you meant like half the member nations didn't show up, the ones that did were drunk.
No. I'm saying that, like, they were focused on another war in Europe.
Okay.
But when threats started to happen from abroad, from, let's say, Ethiopia, which was a League member, they were like, oh, let's talk about this, guys. Oh, this is complicated. Oh, this is so complicated. You know, I love that when they say, like, guys, it's just complicated. As if that's supposed to be, like, an end-all, be-all. Oh. It's like, oh, so it's too complicated to fucking figure out, huh?
Fuck it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh. It was, for a long time, a sort of a rubber stamp thing for the French and the British.
Complicated.
And the French and the British were still competitors in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, they never really got along.
No, never. They didn't see eye to eye. France and Great Britain didn't. Italy was kind of a wild card. Germany pulled out of the League of Nations and did their own thing, which nobody liked.
Like, I'm leaving so I can...
I could do whatever the fuck I want. And they did, and it was horrible. Everyone was afraid of Germany, though, and they weren't really looking at Italy. And that was kind of how Mussolini liked it. He was like, I'm going to take Ethiopia, and we're going to have another empire. And
It'll be so cool, you guys.
Germany was the hound dog in the turnip patch.
Yeah.
And Ethiopia was the pie.
On the windowsill. Yeah. I appreciate that.
It's a single line Tyler said in the 1916 Easter Rising.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's referring to... Yeah, I posted it on the thing.
God, that's
funny. I
funny.
Died laughing. I was just listening to it, and I was like, oh, That's
gold. That's gold, Jerry. Gold. France at this time, it's before Vichy France, but the sentiment is still there. You got some assholes running the foreign policy in France, and they're trying to make like backroom deals with Italy because Italy didn't get the promised colonial holdings that the Treaty of Versailles said they could, and they're like, well, if you do this and you do that, then I'll do this, and kind of thing, behind everybody's back, including Ethiopia's. And they did not appreciate the fact that they're like, hey, you're not even consulting us, and you're saying that you're gonna get what and what?
Yeah.
Like, this is bullshit.
Whoa.
Like I'm standing right here,
I can hear everything you're saying.
Yeah, and they had to be like, at one point, they had to be like, no, hypothetical. Just saying.
Oh, it's never hypothetical.
Yeah, and I mean, they're already in Eritrea, and the thing is about Mussolini is like, he's like, I can't, he was too politically astute to be like, I can't just go to war. I can't just invade.
Yeah.
Like what Germany did.
Yeah.
Like, basically anything they couldn't get from the conference table, they would try to take by force.
Yeah.
Italy would do the same thing, but a little different, because there was the Friendship Treaty of 1928, where it's like, hey, if you guys got problems, you guys got to get an arbiter, and you guys got to seek arbitration. You got to figure this out at the conference table.
Couples therapy.
Yeah, and Italy was like, no, thank you,
Fuck that,
because they wanted, under the auspices of.
Why's it got to be couples therapy? Why don't they go to therapy? I don't have any problems.
Yeah,
they're the one that's got shit they got to work out.
Yeah, I'm
perfect.
Pretty much exactly how Italy saw themselves in this. Very, very, very narcissistic,
Have you heard about our trains?
They run about the same as they used to.
Which was close enough to on time.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mussolini really played countries against each other. The British really waffled on this issue. The reason why is because they were like, yeah, Italy was our friend's last go, but he's like a fascist. And what if this, explodes in war in Europe? What the fuck is Germany gonna do? You know what I mean? When that happens.
It'll be fine.
Great Britain didn't want to make a decision at all on the issue of Ethiopia. France wanted to wheel and deal and capitulate to some demands. Germany stayed out of it. 100% out of it.
They got their eye on Poland.
Yeah, and Austria.
Austria, yeah.
And something that we tend to forget is during this time, Austria was viewed more so under the Italian sphere of influence rather than the German sphere of influence. So Italy and Germany didn't get along until later. Mm-hmm. In fact, Mussolini called Hitler a clown at one point.
I mean...
Yeah, roasted. So Italy started amassing their forces in Massawa and Asmara in Eritrea, and the best that the League could do, the one thing that they could agree on, is they slapped some sanctions on both sides. Mm-hmm. They're like, no trading with any of these countries, especially weapons. The thing is this only hurt Ethiopia, because Italy doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they have sanctions, they've been mobilizing their army for months, for a couple of years now.
I feel like this is the kind of thing when there's there's two people and there's a clear antagonizer.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you guys just can't get along,
Or well, both of you are wrong. And it's like, no, it's clear that this person is being the asshole.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, for sake of argument, you're both wrong.
I hate
and it's
that
like,
shit.
No. Listen, and stop just being dismissive.
Hey, I'm just being the devil's advocate here.
Oh,
okay.
God. I'm just asking questions. It's like, how about you pay attention and you notice who's being the asshole?
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes in a conflict, there's a clear aggressor.
Asshole, and it's Italy.
Yeah.
You know?
But Jerry, have you ever smoked DMT?
Chimpanzee will rip your arms right off.
Yeah. So, Italy started looking around at, like, who could send them stuff. Because they don't have a modernized military like the Italians do.
Yeah.
And they know they don't stand a chance against a full brunt of the Italian military. So they look around, you know, the United States sends them some transport vehicles, and the United States gets in trouble. And they're like, hey, these are transport vehicles, these are not military vehicles.
I mean, the United States never really gives weapons to people they're not supposed
I
to.
know,
We
yeah.
know what about that.
This is like the first instance of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess World War I and whatnot. But anyway, they actually bought guns from the most unlikely, I guess, right now friend. Yeah, there's a term for that. Friend right now, but not friend always.
Fair weather fan.
Fair weather friend is what I would say.
I know.
Any guesses as to who that is that sold them guns
Canada.
during this time? During the early 1930s.
Detroit.
Mexico. Is it another nation in Africa?
France.
No.
Afghanistan.
It was Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Nazis sold them guns.
I did not see that coming.
Nice.
I don't get it.
It's just,
Oh, because not C sounds like not C.
yes.
Okay, I think... Can you explain that one more time?
No.
No.
The word sounds the same.
Now I get it!
So they were using a lot of German guns and things like that, which is super, super fucking strange.
They got Lugers. They got Mausers.
They got Mausers.
Mausers are cool.
Yeah, they got shit like that. Not many.
I'm thinking of those little robot mice from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It's different. It's a different gun.
Different thing. There were a lot of guns too that got held up. They were for Ethiopia, but they just sat there instead of being used by anybody. And it's like, that's a shame.
Why have them if you're not going to use them?
Well, they sat somewhere that people forgot about them or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, we weren't supposed to give these to you.
Wasn't I supposed to give these guns to Ethiopia?
Yeah, and they were like, no, you can't do that. So they sat there for a while. Anyway.
What's the point of having guns if you're not going to shoot people? It's like Curtis LeMay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much.
We got nukes.
Yeah.
Nuke the whales.
Yeah, I actually do want that poster.
That would be rad.
Not because I believe in that, but because I think it's funny.
Oh, obviously. By the way,
it's
Jerry,
from
I
The
like that you're
Simpsons.
to describe. You'd be like, by the way, I don't think you should nuke the whales.
No, nobody. I mean,
gotta
that's an
nuke
absurd.
something.
It's an absurd remark. When I told Susie that, I was like, I actually do want that poster.
That would be great.
Nuke the whales, or at least a T-shirt that says "Nuke the whales." Susie was like looked at me like disgusted.
What the fuck?
She's like, what? And it's like, it's a joke from The Simpsons.
You gotta nuke something.
She was like, I've never seen The Simpsons, and then well, she didn't say that, but that's pretty much
What is this?
She was like, what? Now, with these sanctions, a lot of people were like, or a lot of countries were like, hey, Great Britain, you know what would really hamper Italy? Is if you closed the Suez Canal so they couldn't get to Eritrea so easily. And they were like, yeah, but what about all the rest of our business? Mm-hmm. And they let it stay open. If they would have closed it, they could have really mitigated some of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But no.
But
they
that
left
would
it
hurt
open.
business.
Yeah, they left it open. So that was out and much to Mussolini's delight, keeping the Suez Canal open. That would have really fucked him.
Everything's coming up Mussolini.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I watched
That's another Simpsons reference.
Yeah. I watched Dirty Work last night with Norm Macdonald.
I know it.
And he tries to tell the guy that owns the pizza shop that he was robbed. And he goes, and he starts saying a bunch of bad things about Italians and about that Mussolini character.
I don't
He had some
remember
choice
that.
words for that Mussolini
I
character.
remember liking that movie, but I don't know if it holds up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I
dated.
like Norm Macdonald.
Yeah. Something that Italy would do is they went in and they knew that there were some Rosses out there that were a little
They're all
disaffected. They were a little disaffected, so the Italians were bribing them to, like, side with them, you know? And
they made them some offers they couldn't refuse.
People, like, talked to Haile Selassie about this, like, hey, you know they're, like, bribing some of these Rosses here that you're supposed to trust. And Haile Selassie didn't think it was weird at all. Like, he was like, no, dude, we do this all the time, where we take European money and then walk away. And it was sort of true, but not 100% true. There'd be some people that would collude with the Italians. Mm-hmm. Then there was the Wall Oasis incident.
Wall?
Wall.
Double wall.
Wall.
It's got 2 walls.
Walla.
WAL.
Okay.
Wall.
So it's not like a wall like that's next that you know.
No, it's a word in a language that you do not speak.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough.
It was an oasis.
Much like Walla.
In the it was an oasis in the Ogaden. Have you guys ever heard of the Ogaden?
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
It is the east of Ethiopia. It is a barren desert.
Ah, yes.
Not a lot of water around, so water is a huge commodity. It's extremely important in this area. So everybody uses this oasis
it's very
for
popular.
water. Everybody uses it. They have to. And
it's like
so
the
you
malt
have
shop when you're cruising the loop.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody uses it. Everyone has to use it. So you have Italians with Somalis with Ethiopian, soldiers at this oasis. The Italians tried to make it sound like it was in Italian Somaliland, which it wasn't, according to their own maps, which was super embarrassing for them, because they brought it to the League. Because what Mussolini was trying to do, he's trying to provoke the Ethiopians into attacking first, so he had more of a precedence to go.
Fuckers.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty much how this whole thing started. They're at the oasis, and it pretty much starts that way, like people yelling at each other, and then it erupts into this extremely bloody skirmish, and a lot of people die on both sides. He takes, he's like, you see, they're shooting at us, and this is in Italian Somaliland. It's not even in Ethiopia. They're attacking us, and they're like, wait, let's take a look. And they're like, see, it's in Ethiopia. This is your map. And they're like, well, what about this map? And it was a different map.
It's like a Sharpie.
Yeah. The Sharpie that goes around it. Yeah. And they're like, well, what about this map? And they're like, yeah, that's still in Ethiopia. This is in Ethiopia, friend. And they were like,
oh, shit.
Oh, well, they did it. And they're like, I don't know about that, but...
You guys seem shifty. Your maps are covered in fresh cut basil. I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah. But the thing
it smells great.
Yeah, it smells delicious. Very aromatic.
The thing is Mussolini was like, well, you know what? If according to the League of Nations or whatever, if you guys don't come up with some resolution sometime, I'm going to invade. And if you guys don't have a plan for that, that's on you. And so there was a time set up, and the League kept pushing that time back, and they were like, I don't know what to do.
If we do this,
we might start another world war if we do this, if we really get involved in this. Basically, time was running out, right? And Italy was sending all these planes over, and the British could see them because they had to come through the Suez Canal, and they, of course, had to inspect them. So they knew that these planes were coming through, and Italy was like, no, we're not amassing our entire army in Eritrea.
And just seasoning the planes by taking them through the water route.
Yeah, and
seasoning the finish on the paint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And they were like, who is, though? Ethiopia. They put 90,000 troops on the border. And I don't know who actually bought that, but it's like, no, they're not. They're not doing that, They're like,
just let me attack Ethiopia.
Yeah. And it is sort of unclear, who shot first. But yeah, Italy definitely spread a lot of misinformation about
Ethiopia says you look like jerks.
Yeah. And you look like an asshole. Now, there were, these building tensions. Haile Selassie, he was looking around for anyone who would help. There was not many who would. And he felt slighted because he was a league member. Ethiopia was a league member. And the whole thing about the mutual security, it's like, well, isn't this the whole fucking point of the League of Nations? Yeah. Is to make sure that we don't attack each other, we don't have another world war? And they're like, well, it's complicated, though.
You're in Africa, though.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were a white person country, we'd totally have your back.
See, yeah.
Jeez.
And you're not far out. That's pretty much exactly what, the British were saying.
Yeah.
And the French were like, yeah, they're like, just don't unleash Germany. That's all we want. Because Germany wants another crack at us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, during this time, everyone was talking about this issue. It was big in America. African Americans, again, were following this story. A lot of African Americans actually signed up in little groups that they formed to go fight in Ethiopia against the Italian fascists. The Americans and the British both made it illegal to go fight for a different country. So not a lot came from it. The Black Eagle came from it, though. You had to kind of go rogue. There was another guy that we're going to get to in the next episode, the Brown Condor, who is he's my favorite.
His name isn't quite as good as Black Eagle, but
he's way cooler than the Black Eagle.
All right, I'm excited for the Brown Condor.
Yeah, I like the Brown Condor quite a bit.
I'm not saying I'm not excited. I'm just saying that.
And that is also a sexual maneuver.
The Brown Condor for sure, and it involves bad stuff.
Yeah, it has to.
The Brown Condor,
because of brown.
He was a precursor to the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh,
no shit.
Yeah, he trained in Tuskegee. We'll get into his story next time.
We talk about the hot dick.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be laughing about the experiments we did on those airmen, but...
Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
There was also something that was sort of... It came to be seen as sort of emblematic of the whole Italian-Ethiopian struggle. And that was a fight between Joe Louis and Primo Carnera, boxers.
Oh.
And,
Joe Louis sounds like a boxer name.
Yeah. Joe Louis, he's a famous boxer.
I don't know boxers.
He's no Joe Frazier,
Louis,
but
yeah.
He's not a boxer.
No.
Yeah. But Joe Louis, he was black, and Primo Carnera was Italian. The Italian Americans of New York City and the Black Americans of New York City fervently supported their boxer. The announcer, they almost canceled it. So they're like, this is going to cause a fucking riot. The announcer's like, no matter where you're from or who you are, we're all Americans, right, guys?
Boo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck you.
And the fight began, and Joe Louis won. And it did cause a riot.
God damn it.
I remember reading about this.
Yeah.
Man, these Italians really are sore losers.
Yeah. Marinara.
We shouldn't be joking about all those Italians we did experiments on.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was stacking it on the other guy. It was more serious.
Yeah. Leftists and rightists from all over the world had their own opinion. The Russian communist in exile, Stalin didn't like
Leon Trotsky.
Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky had a few words to say about it. Yeah, he boiled it down more to class structure, of course. But yeah, everyone had their opinion on it. This was the big news story of the day. It's kind of crazy that, World War II did overshadow this, but it's kind of crazy that a lot of people forgot all about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the thing is that while Europe floundered, time ran out. Italy had been mobilizing, Ethiopia had not. Italy was richer than Ethiopia. Ethiopia was extremely poor. Everyone knew that Ethiopia wasn't going to stand a chance. And because of international indecision, it now pretty much became legal for Italy to invade the far inferior Ethiopia. militarily inferior Ethiopia.
It's a good distinction, by the way.
And that is where we will leave you
The saga
for
begins.
episode 2.
Skins.
Haile Selassie, Emperor, last emperor of Ethiopia.
I'm starting to think that Mussolini character may have not been
Oh,
the best guy.
in his own memoir, he brags about raping women.
Oh.
What?
Yeah. Well, it was.
Who is
it was
he, Donald Trump?
Yeah, it was sort of the
Right.
grab him by the pussy of the time, where
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were like, "Hey, that's fucked up," and he was like, "I'm a man, and that's what I do." It like I'm not
Fuck.
even kidding.
What
I'm
a-
not even kidding.
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
I had such a positive opinion of that guy. I'm clearly joking. I just want to say that.
I know. Part 2 is going to be a little rough. Just a warning.
Mm-hmm.
I do have an episode after this. Be a great palate cleanser for you.
Hell
It's gonna be.
The history of puppies.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
man.
You're gonna love it. I promise. You guys are really gonna like it.
the history of puppies is going to be so cute until they all get killed.
Killed and eaten.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh no!
damn it. Now I'm sad again.
Couple of things actually.
Yeah.
I do want to say.
Should I do
Tyler-
my shameless plug first?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tyler, you were part of something.
Yeah, I was.
You're doing it.
Elliot over at Anthology of Heroes, great history podcast that chronicles heroes of history. Every episode's a different guy or gal or whatnot. He's also doing history film reviews, and he asked myself as well as Zach from the Conflicted podcast and Victoria from Smoke and Shadows. We all watched a hilariously bad history movie and then had a conversation about it. So
Do you know when that comes out, Tyler?
it's going to be about 6 weeks on that.
Okay.
So
okay.
so it's coming down the pike. I talked to him recently, but I asked him when I should plug it, and he said whenever. He said plug the pod. And actually, since being on the show, I now follow all 3 podcasts, and I've listened to all at least one episode of each of them, and they're all really, really great stuff. All different points of view. Conflicted kind of untangles historical events that have a lot of misconceptions. Smoke and Shadows is history through the lens of getting stoned to the bone.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so pretty good stuff all around, and we watched a movie about the Turkish Ottomans invading Vienna. It was like the last big push of the Ottoman Turks and into Austria and of the empire in general, and it's really bad. It's a really bad movie. But if you want to know more about it and all of our japes and jokes, I'll probably plug it again once it drops. So
Yeah.
We almost went a whole episode without saying japes.
Yeah. Almost.
it can't be joked.
Nope.
I also want to say, during the research of this episode, these 2 episodes, I came across the Free Oromia podcast, which is talking about what it's like to be Oromo in Ethiopia, sort of that struggle, and what it's like to live there as Oromo and abroad in like the diaspora as Oromo, and it's very enlightening. And if you want to hear real, Oromos talk about history and sort of the implications of that, highly recommend going to listening to that podcast. It's really good. Also, I have a correction that I missed from last time. I was using Hindu and Hindi
Interchangeably.
in the wrong way. Yeah, backwards basically. Hindi is the language. Hindu is the religion. Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
Thank you, dear listener. This is from the Mother Teresa podcast episode. Thank you, dear listener, for correcting me on that one. Yes, and any time that I am totally wrong, I will absolutely correct myself. Especially in this case, I was completely and totally wrong. So I will correct that now.
That's a demerit,
It's a demerit. I know 3 demerits is a talking to, man.
3 talking twos is a spanking.
Now, damn.
We got a Patreon. You guys know the deal.
Yeah.
It's fucking blah blah blah. Whatever.
Dude, and all the podcasts that we really dig and we support, we always share that stuff on Twitter, and we love each and every one of them as well as you, dear listener. Go check those out. There's a bunch of them. Danny and Mike catch up. That's a good one for politics. That's where I get my politics now. Go listen to it. It's really good. Friends of the show. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. And we want you to listen to them as well as us. So go check that out. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
I'm Tyler. I'm a history boy. Signing off. See you next time, folks.
I am Christopher Whedon, and I, turns out, am a history boy.
Nice.
Test came back positive.
Yeah.
He's 100% that history boy.
I have 6 months to live.
Yeah.
I'm riddled with it.
like The Room. Test came back, and I definitely have breast cancer. Then they never talk about it again.
I am Zach, the human chimney mech, and I am a history boy.
And I am Jerry Nash. Of course, your humble history boy as always. Thank you so much, dear listener. Thank you to our Patreon pals to keep this show going on the rails. We love all of you so much.
You know who you are.
And we're going to see you for part 2 of Haile Selassie, and we're going to see you again for years and years and years afterwards. Yeah. So,
you're
Zach,
conscripted.
Conscripted at a young age. Zach, do the thing.
Love you, bye!
We've had a lot of fun. We'll see you next time. Or I guess we won't, whatever.